Nobody likes a smarmy piano player, but there are some things that we can learn from piano. So today we're doing a hybrid lesson where we're talking about some cool stuff that you can visualize on a piano keybed that you can instantly incorporate in a guitar that's probably going to help make some sense of the instrument. Now, thankfully, because I'm not a musical elitist, I started on guitar like a real working blue-collar man, and then I dabbled in piano later in life, so I don't have that musical elitism that most Jacob Collier fans and piano players have. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about chord building, how you can use it to enhance your guitar playing, etc., right? Because, we'll learn guitar scales and it'll be like, all right, cool, like the C major scale. And it becomes this hand shape. But we don't really, take a lot of music theory from shapes, right? So I want to take just a minute, talk about building chords on a piano, and then incorporating that in guitar, and then you're going to learn some stuff you're never, ever going to forget, all right? So, a scale, right? The major scale. Everybody knows and loves the sound of that major scale. You've probably learned it as a hand shape like this. Right? Or maybe you learned like a pentatonic scale like this. Now, it's one thing to hear and play on a guitar, but once you see it on a piano in a way that is explained thoughtfully, that makes sense, I think it'll stick a little more on a guitar, right? So, basically, scale are just notes that sound good together. So just so happens to be, the C major scale is just the white keys on a keyboard. Okay, so that's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Then it starts again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I'm using this Arturia Astrolab keyboard. This is actually sponsored by Sweetwater and Gator Frameworks. Gator Frameworks provided the stand and the bench that I'm sitting on. Super high quality stuff. I will have affiliate links in the description if you guys are interested. Check that out because they made this video possible. This was just sitting on like a ottoman before. So thank you so much to Sweetwater and Gator for actually giving me a proper stand that I can keep in this apartment, right? Anyway, so we have 7 notes in a scale, right? And then we can start building them. Now, chords are built in thirds. All that means is if you want to build a chord from the C major scale, start on a C. Just take like 2 of the black keys, go to the left one, right? That's the C. That's the first thing you need to learn. Just find the black keys, which are the sharps or flats. They come in either groups of 2 or 3. 2, 3. Go to one of the 2, left, C, okay? So, now what it means to build a chord in thirds is basically you take a note, this would be the second note away from it, and this would be the third note away from it. So you have a C, and then the third from there. Okay, so we're starting to build a chord. Now we're going to take a third from there. We have a C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so now once we have 3 notes, that's a triad built in thirds. From the C major scale, we get a C major chord, okay? So right there, it's really easy to visually see that on a keyboard because it's like, all right, just start with the C note and then go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that's the exact same thing as taking a guitar and going and then playing that C major shape. And then if you wanted to play a chord, C, E, G, that'd be the same as going C, E, G. Play them all together. Okay? So far, hopefully that makes sense. Now we can make other chords out of that same scale, out of that same chord scale once we start adding the chords together, right? We can build a third on top of any single one of these notes. Let's start with the second note, the second scale degree, right? C to D. So now a third from D is here, and a third from here is here. Okay? That's a D minor chord. Again, in guitar shape, it would be D minor. Okay? Now, in guitar speak, it's like, well, what's the difference between major and minor chord? Well, it's a shape. It's a different kind of shape. It makes more sense on a keyboard because it's like, all right, I know that first chord is major, C major, D minor. What's the difference between major and minor? It is the distance between the root note and its first third, okay? So again, you might see this as just being, okay, well, we're skipping a white key, so the distance is just putting one white key in between. Well, what actually happens is you're skipping one key in the scale, but we have all these notes. We have the sharps and the flats in between. So really we're going up a half step, a half step, a half step, and another half step from C to E, right? So on a guitar, from C to E would be C, C sharp, D, D sharp. We'd have that many frets, right? This is just a distance in like a fret. So this is the same shape, but 4 frets higher, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a major third. 3 frets higher, 1, 2, 3, is a minor third. Major third, minor third. Major chord, minor chord, okay? So the distance between the root and the 5th of a major chord is going to be the same distance between a root and a 5th in a minor chord. It's that third that is the difference, which is why in guitar speak, when we have a chord, a power chord like this, a root and its 5th, 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, or a D power chord, 5th fret on the A string, 7th fret on the D string, that distance is the same, right, between a root note and its 5th. It's only the major third and the minor third that have a different kind of distance there, which is, just 1 extra fret, 4 half steps, or if it's major, 3 half steps if it's minor, okay? So it's really easy to play a chord scale in this, right? We just kind of take this claw, skip a white key, skip a white key, skip a white key. 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, 1 chord. So on and so forth. You can kind of just move this claw around. Whereas on guitar, it's like, all right, I got to play the 1 chord, the 2 chord, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? Those are all different shapes, which again is infinitely, I don't know if infinite is the right word there, is much more difficult to learn all those different shapes than just moving your little claw around up and down the keyboard, right? Now the next thing I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about arpeggiating a chord, playing it 1 note at a time through different octaves on this, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to do that same thing starting on C. We're going to go C, E, G, C, E, G, C, okay? Now really easy to do here because it's just C, E, G, there's my triad, and then I'll just do another triad. And then maybe I'll get the octave, right? So I'm spanning 2 full octaves from this C to this high C. C, E, G, C, E, G, C. And then it's like, all right, well, if I do that on guitar, now I need a shape, right? So maybe I could start here, C, E, G, C, E, G, C. But now I'm using kind of like that fretboard roadmap, which you talk a lot about. But the nice thing about being able to translate or transpose across instruments is that like you have a different visual idea of this, right? I was like, okay, well maybe I don't want to do it in that order. Maybe I want to take the C from my left hand and the G, and then in my right hand I want to go E, G, C. Right? It's like, okay, well that's maybe like something that is less obvious on guitar. C, G, and then maybe I could do the C, E, G like that, and then I can start getting creative with my guitar lines because I can start playing them more like a piano player would think about it in a linear progression. And I think that's really important. Like sometimes you'll hear people be like, oh, this person is playing guitar like a piano player. That's kind of what that means. The voicings are a little bit different. Just the way the lines are made are spread out a little bit more. But I think an even better reason to maybe incorporate keyboard or piano into your playing is extended chords make so much more sense on a keyboard, right? So let's say you want to do a 7th chord. We just take the 7th note away, right? We add another third, C, E, G, B, C major 7. That's my favorite chord of all time, other than maybe an F major 7, right? And now before you give me a smarmy hard time about me not using the right fingerings from the top down thing here, it's because I'm trying to leave space so you can see the keys too, right? I know that maybe there's a better way to play this, but if you already thought about this, you're a musical elitist and you're probably just watching beginner guitar keyboard videos for some unknown reason, other than just to maybe troll people out of your own insecurities. So think about that. But adding that 7th note away, I think is really beneficial in your guitar playing too, because it's really just, when I see this chord, the C major 7 chord, you using these triads first, I can really visually see that it's a C major chord and an E minor chord on top of each other, right? C major, E minor, combine them, I get C major 7. Whereas like, yeah, in this particular example, I could be like, all right, C major 7, this voicing looks like this, which is like maybe the start of the C major chord, and then just that open E minor chord on top. Right? So that's one way to look at it, but the arpeggio, I think, is what really, really solidifies that understanding between the instruments. C, E, G, B. If I wanted to do that here, I would just go C, E, G, B. And being able to think of this in two different venues, a linear way, just going left to right, which I could do on a guitar still, C, E, G, B, like that, doesn't make a whole lot of sense in most contexts because it's not efficient. I'd rather play it like this shape, 3A, 2D, 5D, 4G. That makes more sense in guitar world, but having them both is such an important kind of just trick for your brain to really understand. And I want to say that like it wasn't until I got somewhat proficient at piano that music theory on guitar really started to make sense to me, right? Which is why I really think anybody should, if you're a guitar player and you just want to maybe start switching things up a little bit, get yourself just like a decent keyboard. I really like this Arturia Astrolab because it has so many cool different, like you can make it a piano real quick like that. Let me put this guitar away. You can make it a piano easy enough, right? You can make it an organ. You can have like bass effects, strings, and then just all like the cool like pads and like synth stuff that Arturia is known for. But again, I would not even have this out here if not for Sweetwater and Gator specifically hooking it up with like a solid bench and a stand. This stand is great. I actually have 2 of these. I used to gig with these. Just because you can use these as like a makeshift table if you want. There is no shortage of potential uses you could have for this specific stand because it folds down and it ends up being like this thick. This is really awesome. I'll have affiliate links for all this stuff in the description if you guys are interested. But super shout out to Gator Frameworks because they make just like really high quality stuff that I love using, right? So anyways, you can do all these extended chords, right? C, E, G, B, just by skipping a key in this scale, right? Same thing goes with the minor chords. We'll start with the A minor 7. A, 1, minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7, A, C, E, G. And now because we're doing this, we can maybe see, oh, an A minor 7 is an A minor chord and a C major chord combined. And seeing those combinations is so important. Now you can spread them out. You can maybe make the C major down here and the A minor up here. And it's like, oh, that's kind of an interesting after school sound. But it's really an A minor 7, or if you want to think of it as a C major 6. Now so many more things are implied, whereas guitar, we are somewhat limited in like, all right, I want to play an A minor 7. Well, that's easy enough. Just open A, 2D, open G, 1B. And then if I want to arpeggiate it, A, C, E, G, A, or C, E, G, A. But there's a lot more that you could do on a keyboard when you can spread the voicings out. You are a little trapped and confined in a guitar, which is why we rely on these different shapes for so many of the things that we kind of do, right? But the nice thing about having this as a supplement to your guitar education is a lot of it becomes more intuitive, right? I remember when I was first trying to learn a bunch of different chords on guitar, I'd be like, all right, well, minor 9, what's that all about? I would have to like look up, all right, what's an A minor 9 chord voicing on guitar? How do I play this? Well, it's much more easier on keyboard because like, all right, A, C, E, G, there's A minor 7. Well, in 9, I'll just go 9 notes away and add this. And it's like, all right, well, that was an intuitive way to kind of build that just visually in a line, which is a little bit harder to do on guitar. So again, playing piano or keyboard is such an important supplement to your guitar playing that will only make you a better musician and also knock some of the smarm off those elitist keyboard players' faces next time you see them. Because remember, you started playing guitar first, so you are a cool guy or girl. Nobody can take that away from you. Much better to add this to the repertoire later on. Am I right? So, thank you to Sweetwater for providing the stand and the bench. Again, this is one of the high quality benches. There's nothing worse than having one of those like super thin, like little steel benches. You need to be comfortable when you're trying to knock the smarm off those Jacob Collier fans' faces. No shade. Just had to pick a name at random. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section or Instagram. And check out the affiliate links. Anything you get from Sweetwater, please do so using my affiliate link. It gives them, just information that you guys watch the videos and kind of keeps the train rolling a little bit longer. So I appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any questions, let me know.